Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Welcome to the Woman's Cave. Now, as you know, I still have bronchitis. I'm Jade.
And I'm Winona.
We'll remember to do this more, you guys. Remember to introduce ourselves. Proud of us.
Yes. And
guys, high five. In the beginning, like, total high five right here, you guys.
Yes.
Like, we are coming up in a big, major way.
No, we're not.
No, that's a lie. You know, we ain't never going nowhere. Anyway.
It's you. Like, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden she's taking over all my fun and playful
Because
fun.
I still have bronchitis, and so I'm still on those strong meds. So y'all already know when you get on those meds, you're like, codeine is for everybody.
And she loves a lot more people now. She's like, doesn't that person look lovely?
You're wonderful. You're wonderful. Yeah, I mean, you guys, I'm not addicted or anything. Like, it's cool. I still have bronchitis. It's horrible.
Yeah, that part is cool.
Yeah, no.
All right.
So we are the co-founders and co-authors with 11 other wonderful ladies.
I'm just so happy.
Remembering that's that right there, because I'm remembering stuff. Yay, Jade. Okay. Of the And I Thought Ladies and the And I Thought series. So here are our books, and yes, I'm going to explain them. People might call them anthologies. We call them guides to life.
You know why we can do that? Because we wrote them.
Right, so we can. So yay, guides to life. And I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons. And I thought being grown up was easy. And yay, we got a website up. Reading your own book. That's conceit. And I thought I could juggle it all.
This one you guys is available for pre-order on Kindle.com. And all of them are
on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. If you want your personalized copy, you can absolutely order it on our website. We'll definitely get that out to you. And
with a little note in your name and everything.
Everything. So you'll feel
by the way, our website is InWeThought.com. It feels weird saying serious crap.
Girl,
I mean, so
guys,
weird.
you're on it, but you know, you guys didn't come to like listen to us. You came
to
listen
because we have the lowest rating shows when it's just the two of us.
Yeah, so we absolutely know you didn't come to speak to us. We absolutely know you came to speak to our guest today that is just gorgeous right now. Like,
I'm calling her the classic Barbie doll.
Yes.
Which is making me feel a little insecure about myself, and I'm the narcissistic one.
I know, so I was feeling some kind of way.
Anyway, would you like to introduce yourself, dear guests, all professional and adorable?
Yeah.
Thanks. Oh my God, you guys are making me laugh. My name is Heather.
Just a little bit.
Just a little, yeah.
Just a little bit. My name is Heather Havenwood. Thanks for having me, ladies. But I'm just taking notes here. You're talking about the woman cave, and you have a hard time with serious crap. I mean, I think that's funny. I'm like, oh, it's serious crap. That could be a book, you know? Serious crap. Here we go. Here's all the serious crap you need to know when you're an adult. And after that, just throw the book away. So I don't know. Thank you for having me, ladies. I appreciate it.
Sure. You know that book you're talking about? We tried to write it, and we tried to do it all seriously, and then I got in it.
Everyone.
And it just went like, they were like, well, no, you need to know about love and life. And I'm like, you need to know how to throw the $20 party.
Not even that way. We started it to be serious, and then it just got silly.
But anyway, back here. It's all about you. Adorable Barbie doll.
Thank you. Adorable Barbie. That's a first, I have to say. That's adorable Barbie doll is the first time I've ever been called that in my life. So I will take it, though, because I like Ken. Like, I think Ken's smoking hot. I wish I could have that guy, right? So, yes, remember Barbie and Ken, you know?
I'm reminiscing over those ads. Yeah. I keep looking for those things on the beach, and I'm like, it's so hard to find.
It's so hard to find. G.I. Joe man, you know. Anyway, I honestly believe that if I could boycott Cinderella movies, I would, because I think I watched all those movies growing up, and then I had this actual fantasy that that's how life is. It screws everything up. So I have this, I'm boycotting Cinderella. Isn't that horrible?
No. It makes complete and total sense. Are you going to
all watch Game of Thrones instead? You know, like 5-year-olds should watch Game of Thrones. So they can woman power and craziness, and no Cinderella. That's just my take on it. But who knows?
I think that'd be great. I've always, in my mind, I'm not going to lie, because I grew up with ladies who were very social, and I know you did too. Mm-hmm. We were on the Virtual Woman. I thought we were on the Virtual Women Success Summit together.
Yes, you should check that out.
Right. So, like, all my life, I've grown up with women that are like socially, you know, smirking and trying to backstab everybody and silently do it. So when I watched Game of Thrones, I felt so like, I was like, yes, I'm home.
Yeah.
When I watched Cinderella, I'm like, something was you with this world.
I'm Khaleesi. I was totally Khaleesi. But we all have the queen a little bit in us, the mother, the queen. What's her name? Why am I going blank on her name right now?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Cersei. So I think we all have a little Cersei in us, a little going on. So she's the woman in power who's like backstabbing every single person behind her. So yeah, that's
Kate has never seen the show, so she doesn't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, well.
I heard that it's like extra addicting, and I'm already addicted to television a lot, and I'm addicted to reading, and so I would never get anything.
Yeah. Game of Thrones, though, and just speaking of business and life and everything else inside of Game of Thrones and just entrepreneurship, I love this show mainly because it really does help what I call create storylines and create characters. And when you are an entrepreneur, that's what you do. You really create, you're basically marketing to avatars, and you're learning how to create characters to market to. And then you're also learning how the game of entrepreneurship is. And it really is a game, and it really is a battle, and it's truly is a battle. And there's constantly things going on behind the scenes you don't know about. And that's why I think I love particularly that show, because there's so many different dynamics and worlds going on, and they all think about what they think is happening. And then we all know the reality, but they don't know. They just know they just know the information that they know. Right. So I think this happens in our little world of entrepreneurs. We get our little bubble, and we have our bubble, and then we reach out here and there, and then we connect. But then at the end of the day, we go back to this little bubble that we think we know how life is. So as an entrepreneur, it's really important to get out of your bubble as much as you possibly can, and then be able to reach out. But with that said, not to follow the herd, right? So you get out of your bubble, but you don't follow the herd. The moment you start following the herd, you become the herd. And therefore, I don't really think you are an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur has their own journey. And I think it's a very, I won't say very, but it's a little bit more of a lonely journey, So I don't think it's necessarily the one who's always that social and out there. So that's just how I like the Game of Thrones particular movie in the world of entrepreneurship.
First of all, I'm going to say that she did something that we just don't do here.
What?
You didn't mention that's something we just don't do here.
Oh, segue.
Smart
segues. You did excellent segue.
Seamless.
Yes.
Was that bad? Are you
entrepreneurs?
That was beautiful. We don't do that here. We don't do that here. We tell you guys all the time. We're like, what? We don't have a smart segue. Just we're gonna tell you what we're gonna tell you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but you did a great job.
But you did a great job.
And can I add to this, when you were saying about entrepreneurs, I always think of them as pioneers, and the fact that they are cutting a new path, and you never find a pioneer hanging out in the back with their friends chatting it up at the water cooler. A pioneer is always up there by themselves.
And if they did, they were probably one of those that did not survive.
Yeah. I get that. That's why Game of Thrones. It's like they're the pioneers. The guy that goes, was it Snow? The guy.
No.
Smoking hot. I just think he's amazing. He is a pioneer in the show, right? He's a pioneer. Snow is his last name. I can't.
Jon
Snow, of course.
How can you forget the redhead?
Well, Nona,
I love you, Jon Snow.
Nona talks about Jon Snow so much that I was like, oh, she must be talking about Jon Snow.
He's now he's in an Infinity commercial. So, and I don't like that actually, because you're starting to see all the Game of Thrones actors and other stuff, which really screws up my brain, because I want to keep them in that little world. You know what I mean? Like, don't put Jon Snow in a red hot Infinity going down California. It screws me up, because then I started to think that Jon Snow isn't real, which he's not. But I want to live in my fantasy.
When I saw that commercial, I was like, I completely know that guy. Let me.
Yeah.
And then after Jon Snow, what is he doing in a car?
What is he doing in a red car going down California Highway 1? Welcome to Hollywood.
Are you located? Oh no, you're in Texas. That's right.
Mm-mm.
So I guess I should probably ask you something that a real interview person hostess would ask at some point.
Sure.
So I'm over the jealousy thing, by the way, of you being adorable. So
no, she's not.
Don't tell secrets. Anyway, I wanted to ask.
Medicine.
I know, I wrote for here, from bankrupt to
sexy boss.
Yes. So how did you do that?
A lot of work. So basically, just to give you context and the people who are listening, I have a book out called Sexy Boss, and it's really my story from going from bankruptcy to Sexy Boss, but really where it went from. I went high success, massive success in corporate world, and then massive success as an entrepreneur, then bankruptcy, and then kind of had to learn how to rebuild. Because what I learned is how they always say, like, there's like a little saying that says, how you got where you're at today, right? You have to change and alter your mind to go where you want to go, right? So basically you have to evolve. So I had to get to the fact that somehow along the way I'm at the bankruptcy because of, because of the thinking I had, right? And a lot of that had to do with I was building a business, and I built a business with a business partner. So and I did very well. We went from $0 to $1 million in 1 year. So it was a successful business. And then he took the business, and then I didn't have any money. And then that's how I ended up in bankruptcy. So the business didn't fail. The business was successful. What failed was the business partnership, right? So I had to really look at, how do I rebuild from scratch as a woman, as a single woman, as someone who didn't really have a backup plan, someone who didn't have any other eggs in the basket and any fires going on. And I started over completely, and I lost my house and filed bankruptcy, personal and business. Everything was gone, and had to figure out, how do I be an entrepreneur newly? You know what I mean? Newly. And then, do I even want to be an entrepreneur? Because I definitely had this space of like, screw this. This is stupid. Let's just go back to corporate America. Like, I know that space. I know I could be successful there. But I knew that at the end of the day, and I did try. I tried a few jobs here and there, and waitressing jobs. And I'm like the worst waitress on the planet. So I was like, this isn't going to work. And mainly that's because I'm a pioneer. I'm always like the one at the restaurant saying, hey, you guys need to fix this and fix that. So like, you're the hostess. I'm like, so like, here's all these ideas, and they're just like, you make $5 an hour, shut up. So I had to go, I really want to be the boss. How do I do that? Well, the only way to do that, instead of climbing up the ladder, I had to what I call create myself as the boss newly. So that's what I call the story from bankruptcy to Sexy Boss. And that book is like my journey of going through that process.
You don't happen to have a book that you could show everyone, do you?
No. And I'm actually in the process, right? I should have. I apologize. I have my book out on Amazon. I'm actually, and it was created in November 2013, and I'm just now putting it on to create a space, which I haven't done yet. I have a book, Triggers, is actually a friend of mine, Joe Sugarman. He actually is the forward of my book. This is a book that I read. It's on my, I have it as a reference, but I also about to do a video on it. So Triggers, this book specifically is very important to me. So I have it right here because I'm going to be doing some stuff on it later.
What?
So
And then she just put it away. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Triggers.
Okay, there we go. Yes, you guys got a good look at this or something. There you go. Thank you.
It's 30 sales tools, y'all.
Yeah, and actually,
on the podcast.
Just to give you an idea, so you can go to sexybossinc.com and you can enter your name and email, and what you get as a bonus is you get 3 audio chapters of my book, Sexy Boss, but I also have the audio book of Triggers. And that's really important because he doesn't actually read the book like a regular audiobook. It's an interview, and there's 30 triggers, and there's a gentleman that interviewed him and asked him the 30 different like chapters, and it's pretty long. So I actually have 3 or 4 chapters of that and an audio series. You cannot buy it. You cannot buy that anywhere. And this you can, but the audio you cannot. And I have that on sexybossinc.com. You just give me
because you're special and well connected.
Yes.
So, okay, you guys, if you're listening to her, you can go from bankruptcy to special, well connected, and prosperous. There you go. This is a good reason to listen, to keep on listening. Yes. So I was going to ask if I know we've heard this story before. Oh wait, Jay, did you have anything?
No, go ahead.
I'm trying to be courteous nowadays. Too.
Don't make me laugh. You know, bronchitis.
Okay, so anyway, I was going to ask you the story about when you were there. You said you had to figure out when you wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You actually wanted to do that. So where did you go to do this?
Where did I go to become an entrepreneur?
No. Where did you go to like think it out? And
Marco. I think the Marco Island. I don't know if y'all know that story. So yeah, Marco Island. Mainly out of not because I was like I'm going to go to Marco Island. It was more like I had a friend there that had a house and I could sleep on the couch. That was how that happened. And it happened to be a gorgeous area, right? So it was Marco Island. It was gorgeous. It's actually a resort town. It's near Naples, Florida, which is an extremely wealthy area of the country. So the problem with that area of the country, though, it is gorgeous and it's retirees, but there's no business there, right? There's no, they called it Marco Midnight is 8:00 at night. Everything shuts down because everyone's retired, right? So it's kind of a different market. So it was good for me to calm down. Like a type A personality, was very relaxing. At the same time, it really forced me to kind of appreciate everything I had and come and relax and just kind of chill. And it took me about a year of that to finally get for myself that who I am is an entrepreneur. And there's a distinction there because I was trying to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I was like, it's like trying to be a woman. You know what I mean?
You're not.
Versus like who you are is a woman. Does that make sense? Like trying to be.
Absolutely.
I believe
right?
one of our mentors, Dr. Wright, she always says, you come to a point where you're grinding. That's where you're finding it out. And then when you flow, that's when you go with your natural stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, is that right? Do we understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and I a few times they're fun stories because it's hilarious. There's only like one restaurant in Marco Island at the time, maybe two. One was like a tiki hut, like over the water, and really bad food, but of course it had like gorgeous view, right? Grouper and fish fries, whatever. So I was like, oh, I'll go get a job there. And of course, in Marco Island, there's no job. So when I went there and I thought, oh, I'll just be a waitress. And I'm like, hey, I want to be a waitress. And the guy just looked at me and he goes, the youngest waitress I have here has been here 12 years. I'm like, who the frick does that for 12 years? But that's the only job in town. So, and then the bartenders have been there 25 years. And that's crazy. So you get the idea. So I became a hostess because that's the only position they had. So I was like, okay. And I did nothing. I just sat there all day and was like, and I started to realize how bored. I'm really bored. And I started to tell the manager, who we were cool, like, hey, you should think about doing this and this. It's really helped the flow of the restaurant and you could probably increase the revenue or something, right? And he just looked at me, he's like, you're a hostess. And I said to him one day, I don't know what I said. I said something about business. And he just looked at me with this like, yeah, it's not gonna work. You know what I mean? And I just like, he just was like, please don't make me just like fire you. And I just went, I'm just going to clock out and go. And he's like, that's a good idea. He's like,
what I got works.
Yeah, he's like, I like you. You're a good, I really like you. I'd love to hang out, just have a beer with you. But I mean, you're a hostess. You got to think like a hostess. And I'm like, but I'm not, so that lasted about 2 weeks. And what was really funny about that, I think I'd been there that shift for about an hour. I mean, I hadn't been there that long. And I come home to Paul, lived with Paul, and he didn't even move off the couch. He heard me come in and he just was like, they fired you, didn't they? And I just was like, yeah, because I'm so proud of you. You lasted 3 weeks. I was like, because he knew like who I am. I just don't fit. I'm a round peg and square hole. I just don't fit there. You know what I mean? It's not personal. It's not anything like that. It's like, that's when I started to realize who I am as a builder and a pioneer and a creator. And like, that's just like my essence. So anytime I try to stick myself into something and try to be something else, it just gets all weird for people, Right. So that's, yeah. He was funny.
When you say who you are as like a builder,
yeah.
There's people who walk the corporate ladder, and then there's people who built the ladder for the people to walk on.
Yeah. I'm a builder. I'm definitely a builder. I've realized that too. I'm a good builder and a good promoter, and I'm great at training people and positioning people, right? Like what I call the forefront. What I'm not good at is the details, like meaning I'm good at the details, but I'm not good at like the continual picking up the pieces, right? So that's what I call the back end. And that's where corporate America people are perfect, right? They show up every day. They're good with details. They follow the steps, all those good things that are great.
Those large manuals.
Right. They know how to follow a manual. They know to say that's right and wrong based on like somebody else said. And that's great. Like I need those people, but that's not who I am, right? So that's when you start to realize that, it's freeing You know, it's freeing. That's why you see a lot of like Steve Jobs, and I can go on and on, of big time entrepreneurs. They always have like what I call a second person who is the person you probably don't even know unless you like know like their story. And they're the ones who deal with a lot of the details, the back end stuff. And then you have the visionaries, and I'm the builders. And that's a lot more what I am.
I was pointing to her because that's what she
You're
does.
pointing to Jade, yeah.
Yes.
Because it's what Jade does.
Yeah. Which part?
The back end part.
The back end part.
Yeah. I create.
But see, and then what's beautiful about that is you know it. You know what I mean? And so
you have to. You
have to know it. And I mean, it's finding, I'm kind of thinking right here of like partners and you know, it's a yin and yang. It just makes sense. You know, Steve Jobs is the guy who helped him. I can't remember. And Microsoft, Bill Gates, he had a guy too that he's number 2 in Microsoft. Like people, I can't even remember their names, but they're the Jade. You know, they're the
wind beneath the wings.
They really are. I mean,
it's very important to have these people, and I'm not just speaking that because
it's true.
But it's very important because there are people that innovate, and then there are people that need to do everything else that comes along with innovation.
Right.
Everything else.
And it's funny, if you don't mind me taking this moment, but it's funny because like because I tried doing both.
Excuse me.
It did not turn out cute. So I learned that you roll with what you got. If that's your role, you roll with what you got.
Just to speak to this a little bit, what's normal in society, and I'm generalizing here, okay? I'm massively generalizing, is that the man is the visionary and the woman is the details. Okay, so this is done in history for years and years and years and years. Okay, you have secretaries that are amazing and have great bosses and like all that. There's a show out called Suits, and they really play this up a lot, where the lawyer is usually a man. There's one female, Jessica, she's an African American female, but they have these like bad A mofo secretaries, like bad A secretaries. And then when the secretary leaves or something drama happens, the lawyer gets all like, oh, I can't make a reservation. Like get all freaked out. And, you know, I think it's interesting. I mean, really it's kind of this ironic, fun thing, but it says a lot that it's the yin and yang, right? And that the power person really is only as good and as powerful as their partner. And the partner can look a lot of ways. It could be intimate partner. It could be husband, wife. It could be secretary, quote unquote, right? Meaning like that's their title. But a good person knows that they know they're only as good as that person, that partner is, right?
I think that makes a successful person also. And I'm just saying, because you know that if I would be nowhere without my support.
Yeah.
I'm just a nice person in general. Even if you have a family or whatever. You're doing great. Well, somebody's behind you supporting you, and should be thankful or whatever.
Yeah. I would like to try to be an interviewer one more time, unless you have something else to say.
No, it's fine. I was just going with what you
wanted her quote. The quote that man gave you in the car.
That's exactly what I wanted to say.
Oh, sure.
The last time we talked, there was like 2 things. There was one about the street in Bourbon.
Yeah, okay.
And then there was the quotes on the wall. And
yes.
You don't mind sharing them with our people?
Sure. I'm looking at my wall right now. So the first one that you're probably remembering is, does this feed my confusion or strengthen my clarity? So that was the quote that was given to me when I was in Marco Island at a very, primal time. I didn't have any money, and I went to go visit a friend of mine, counselor, coach / mentor, and he gave me that quote to really live by, like a life. He called it a life rule. He didn't really call it a quote. He was like, this is a life rule, okay, that I want you to actually live by. And he had to give me $20 to get back because I didn't have any money, and he paid for dinner. It's fine. And he gave me this amazing life rule. So it was a pretty good win-win for me, right? And I went back and I started to live my life by this. And it's something it's like a staple. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of like a staple, a lot of biblical feeling in that. And so what it means is, does this feed my confusion or strengthen my clarity? When we are clear as human beings, we're strengthened and we have power. When we are confused or swirling or depressed, whatever, that's what I call loss of power, right? People call it depressed, people call it bipolar, people call it all kinds of things. It's really when a human being's brain or emotion is in confusion and swirling, there is no power. And when there is no power, there's no possibility, what is really what happens. And when there's clarity and power, we're clear on what we want. And even Jesus talks about asking you shall receive. It's inside the power of asking and receiving, meaning the clarity of what you want, right? Then there's power. So that particular question I started to ask myself on all areas of my life, right? Doing this particular interview, writing a book, doing the next project. Does it feed my confusion and add value? Does it feed my confusion or add value and add strength to you and everyone around me, right? If it really does cause confusion, partnerships, business partnerships, friendships, relationships, you want to remove yourself because it won't help either party or any party. You know what I mean? So that's a really important one. That's the first one. The second one is, which I love, is never keep anyone in my life that's not part of my fan club. And he told me that one the same dinner, and that is the Bourbon Street one, where you're walking down the street in New Orleans, and I love New Orleans. It's just a magical place, and you imagine your friends at those balconies, and they're like, well, they're throwing beads down at you, and they're just like, Crystal, we love you, you're amazing. Or they're in the gutters and they're nipping at your heels. And they're in one of the two places. Bottom line, everyone's in one of the two places, even your partner. And what I mean by that is significant or business doesn't matter. Your partner in life, your mother, your father, they're in one of those two places. The challenge is we try to put everyone in the balcony, right? Yeah. Like, yeah, my father's there. Of course he's there. He's my father. Are you sure? Doesn't mean he's there or she's there. It could mean that because of their own stuff, because of their own insecurities, whatever, they might be nipping at your heels. And so I think that's really important for you for anyone to just get clear on where they're at. Just like, okay, he's in the gutter, he's in my heels. Just understanding that gives you more clarity, not like making it wrong or he shouldn't be, or you shouldn't be like this. It's just like, okay, that's how he chooses to be or she chooses to be with me. So I can remove myself. I can change how much information I give that person. I can change, how much I communicate with that person, or, invest in that person. So those are the ones.
I have to say, first and foremost, the first one, I heard that for a good 3 weeks after the second. I just stopped hearing it maybe this week. I'm happy to hear it from you.
What did you heard it in your head?
From Jay.
Yeah, so you heard it in your head, or was Jay just?
I had to keep saying it because Winona is a very, very, very sweet person, deeply a nice person. And so she always keeps a whole bunch of things around people around that probably shouldn't be there. And I'm like, listen, is it adding to your confusion or adding to your clarity? And you're confused. And I was like, exactly.
Yeah. And what happens with that is that we try to, especially for women, a little more challenging, is that we're confused, and then we try to get them to change so we're clear. No, it's like there's confusion here. You can say, let's get in communication and see if we can get some clarity. But if it's not, it's like you just walk away, because at the end of the day, that's people, that's humans, that's projects, that's situations that are sucking your energy. And if you don't have energy, then you don't have creative power. If you don't have creative power, then you can't build anything.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just like rule of law. I mean, it's energy law, right? It's not my law, it's energy law, right? So you just know that. And I'll give you one more. I don't know if I said this one or not. I'm exactly in my life where I want to be.
I have the hardest time believing that every time you say
that's a hard one. And I know, believe me, this one was given to me that same dinner, and I was broke. So I pretty much was a big F you, I don't think so.
If you weren't paying for this meal, I'd be leaving right now.
Exactly. Give me my steak. That one was hard for me. And I remember him counseling me on this, and he's like, you have to look at how you got here and own it, because then you can own all parts of the journey. You're never at a place where you're a victim of. And that was a hard pill to swallow, because he goes, think about it. If you can't own when you're at the bottom, how can you own when you're at the top? How can, when you're at the top of your game, whenever that is, or whenever that happens to be, or whatever you feel like, you can't own that either. Right? You can't say, I'm exactly where I want to be when you're at the top of your game, if you can't own that when you're at what you feel at the bottom of the game. So, it's really important. Does that make sense?
No, I understand. Like, okay. We were just discussing this actually, because we next week, 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, it'll be 1 year since this book came out. This is our first one.
So this is literally our journey, you guys, in a year.
Yeah. So from the 7 months of this one coming out, we ended up in London, but everything else.
We booked London television.
We booked London television. So everything else that I had ever done was kind of like either successful or it failed, and I had just come off of like 3 failures, and I'm always like, oh, it fails. Horrible, terrible me. And now I'm like going to be on London television, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, I just can't. It doesn't feel right. And then when you said that, I was like, well, maybe if I had stopped being a victim, maybe I'd be a little better. Like, all right, I can take my own success now. I can wear my success nicely. On the other hand, she's walking around going, I'm famous.
I'm not walking around like that, you guys. Because we all know that Winona is the art narcissistic one. I, on the other hand, am trying to be the cheerleader. Like, listen, people actually out here that listen to us, which is, amazing to me.
Uh-huh.
Like, hey, you have some life-changing information. Again, amazing. So I'm not saying I'm famous. I'm saying I might have a platform to stand and maybe save someone's life, because we do talk a lot about domestic violence and how to escape and stuff. So I might save someone's life, and that's exciting to me.
That's really cool. Yeah, you can change someone's life. Why not you?
Exactly. So she actually owned both sides of the coin already. I've when she told me I needed to own it a couple months ago, I think it was in like April, we started doing a spring cleaning thing. I was like, next year, y'all, I promise, next year is going to be the year I'm going to work on this stuff. But when you said that, I was like, oh, this is why. So it makes sense. I'm sorry. You made it about us again.
No, you didn't. I mean, you make it about life. It's okay. But I mean, there's so much, I can't even, maybe because I'm just in a different place right now, but there's just a lot of power, but I hate that word. There's a lot of, it's a lot to wrap your head around sometimes, to say, I am exactly where in my life I want to be. Because you can look around and see a ton of stuff that doesn't work. And you can see a ton of stuff that isn't working. You can see a ton of stuff that you don't like. So it's a really weird pill to swallow. I can see the power in it, and I can see the clarity in it. But when you're, I just remember I was in West Palm, and I was at this really nice dinner place with him, and I had this car. Luckily it was working. It was an old truck, and he gave me $20, and he said, go back to West Florida. I was in East Florida, West Florida, and it took me about 3 hours to get home, and went from, this beautiful restaurant to this old car, and here, and $20 in my pocket. And he told me, you're exactly where in life you want to be. And it was just like, I'm having a hard time, owning that, because I had a view that I was 34 at the time, 35. And I thought by now I'd be married and have kids and like live in a nice house in the burbs. And like, there was a particular view that I thought I would be. And I wasn't there, and so, it was hard for me. It was really hard for me. It's still sometimes hard for me, but, I knew that I just listened to my mentor and went forward. But I do remember one thing as a woman. I remember I was on a plane and there was this gentleman next to me. He was, a stranger. And he said to me, I think I said some things, I was going through some stuff, not like victimized, just like, oh yeah, well, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going through some stuff and it's all good. It's okay, or whatever. And he said, oh, it's okay, honey. You can always get married, and like that was a get out of jail free card or something, and I just was like, I don't want to get married because it's a get out of jail free card, or it's like, well, I fail as an entrepreneur, so this is the backup plan. You know, what I want to get married for is with a partner, is someone that we are building something together and building something for a future of our lives and other people. It's a very different view, you know. So I just wanted to share that.
Oh, you want to get married when you're ready to get married. You don't want to get married because of any other situation in your life. I understand that completely. I still think that, although I'm still like nowhere close. Anyway,
well, you guys,
wait. I wanted to ask one more thing. Where did
go ahead.
Come from? Because you are the sexy boss.
You are.
Therefore,
I mean, no, you guys, she looks great, so she has to be.
So therefore, you have to explain it.
Sure. Sexy boss. Yeah. So sexy boss. I got, you know, my success before the bankruptcy. I was very successful. I was very successful in corporate America. I was number one in the country at sales. I then went into the seminar business and was very successful in that space. And I was a driver, and it was a type A personality. And everyone around me was men. Right. It was just the timing. And what I realized is how that I became like we emulate people that are around us, you know. But when a woman emulates a strong man, we call that a biatch, right? So,
thank you.
Right? And so I was really aggressive. I think it's funny because people think I'm aggressive now. I'm like, you've no clue what that means. I was very aggressive and not assertive. I was aggressive. I was bitchy. I was a lot more mean. I know someone's listening going, what? I really, because I feel people think I'm mean now, but I'm like, you have no idea, because it was a way for me to win in the game of the beating the big boys. That was the way I thought I could win. Okay. So I remember specifically, and for me, I thought my handicap was being a woman. So it was like I had to cover it up as much as possible. So if you have pictures of me, I have darker hair, really darker hair, wasn't blonde. I'm covering up my boobs, a lot of turtlenecks, pantsuits. Nothing against Hillary, but anyway, pantsuits. And not wearing dresses. And I remember this guy named Joel Bauer, because of a long story, but he says to me in the middle of this big seminar, and I have a love-hate relationship with this guy. Big seminar, all these people, and I'm in the back, and I'm standing there, and he's like, he called me out. He called me out in front of these people, and he's like, if you be way more powerful. Like everyone's turning around in their seats like this, like, and literally, and I'm like, can you turn everyone around, dude? I'm not the front of the room. And he's like, you maybe be way more powerful if you wore a skirt, if you would be more of a woman. Now, you might think, okay, no big deal. In the moment, I'm a big like, excuse me? Like, who the hell do you think you are telling me? I mean, I was I was mad. I was pissed. And I walked out, and I never came back for that seminar until like a day or two later. And I actually got dressed up, and I wore heels and just a skirt and simple blouse. And I went back to the seminar because that's what I do. I'm like, I have to do a big F you back. So I did that, and he stopped the seminar, and he was like, you look amazing, or something like this, right? And I was like, yeah, thank you. And here's what's funny I got out of that is I started to realize how much I thought being a woman was a handicap. I never really realized it to then. And I never really owned being a woman. So after the bankruptcy, a friend of mine, Joe Sugarman, this one, who wrote the book, he looked at me and goes, you're kind of like a sexy boss, because I was really starting to own who I am as a woman. Sexual Transmutation, Chapter 7, Think and Grow Rich, read the chapter. And then the boss was starting to own all areas of my life, which is I'm the most, I'm in the place where I want to be, right? Those are the owning who you really are as a woman and owning all areas of your life. And that is what I call a sexy boss. And what's interesting about that when I came out with it, I'll tell you a little fun story. So I either get like one or two reactions, like, oh my God, you rock, you're a sexy boss. I totally get it. You're one of me. Like, I love it. Or, and one guy said to me, this is how much I think some men get it, some men don't, right? He said, I don't think women want to be a sexy boss. I don't think that's not a very good thing. Right? And he's married, right? He's married, and I know his wife. And I said, what I wanted to say but I didn't. How my tongue is like, I know your wife, and if you let her be who she really is, she's a bad A sexy boss, right? But it's like there was this stifling going on or something going on in the relationship, you know? And so I was like, if you allow a woman to really own who she is as a woman and be the boss of all areas of her life, if you give her that space, it truly is power, and it really is being a sexy boss. So that's what that is all about. That's a very long story.
No, but it was awesome. Like,
no, it was a perfect story. Not to mention
We
that
love
I've
that
heard
story.
that one before.
Okay.
we love the title and everything about your book, and I mean, of course, which wouldn't be on our show.
We have gone. You are literally going to be the longest interview, so I apologize.
Don't apologize. It was fine.
I'm sorry, but it was awesome. It's just I'm so happy to have you here.
Yes, and you hung in there with us, which we really, really do appreciate.
So, viewers, just in case you're wondering why we were so late, we couldn't get Google to work, and then Zoom was not trying to be our friend either. So there we go. But she hung in there with us, and we're here. I mean, the only person who took this long was I think we had Amy Kardashian.
And yeah, it was
bad. It was really, really bad.
But we have now reached the plug portion of our show.
So let me do this, y'all. Plug.
Here we go.
Plug. Okay, so you go to sexybossinc.com, and you give me your name and email, and you get 3 free chapters of my book, Sexy Boss. Or you can text the word sexy to 72,000. That's 72,000. Text the word sexy, and you can opt in and get my chapters of my book as well. Or go to heatherhavenwood.com. Love to check me out. I have a podcast called The Win with Heather Havenwood, and you go check it out. If you want to speak to me or invite me onto one of your shows, you can click on Work with Heather in the upper right hand side, and we can have a little chat.
I wish I had.
That's my plug.
Yes.
Is that a good plug?
Thank you. Good plug. And you're so practiced at it.
Yes, you are. So
I was like, she's rolling. We're gonna be like,
yeah.
Okay, there we go.
We've only been doing this for not even a year, you guys. You already know. You hung with us this long, and we thank you for it.
All right. This is the slideshow one.
Okay, here we go. I'm Jade.
And I'm Winona.
And we are the co-founders and the co-authors with 11 other wonderful ladies of the And I Thought series and the And I Thought ladies. And I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons.
There you go, you guys.
And I thought being grown up was easy.
Side slide entrance.
And I thought I could juggle it all.
Round and front forward. There you go. I can never do it boringly.
So
it's boring.
Okay. And these books are available on Amazon.com, the BarnesandNoble.com.
There we go. These books. Go.
And I thought I could juggle it all. Is only available for pre-order, you guys. We thank you in advance for pre-order.
Yes, we have thoroughly enjoyed watching those numbers tick up. Thank you. Also, I wanted to let you know that we have And I Thought He Was the One coming up in October. That is the story of all the ladies and their relationships, be it marriage for forever or divorce or multiple divorces, or the lady who ran to Georgia to follow her art, or the woman who got left at the altar 3 times, not just once, but 3 times, and how she got over it. Also, we need all your hopes, prayers, and positive thinking and anything else that you could possibly throw our way, because our PR group is going to enter us into the NAACP Image Awards literary thing and poetry. So we're breathing hard. Please, you guys, pray.
We're breathing.
We want nominations. And I believe you can always catch us on our Blog Talk Radio, our podcast, and you can find your ladies and leave comments. And yes, I remember what I'm supposed to say this time.
Yay, well done.
Wait, did it just drop out my head? No, I got it. I got it. So what does your mother say? She said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And we actually mean that. Unless it's constructive criticism.
Constructive criticism, we welcome it. We thank you for it. But yeah, follow what Winona says. And as always, you can find us on andwethought.com. You can also order your personalized books there.
And you can also email us at ladies@andwethought.com. So you guys, we've enjoyed having Heather Ann, and we want to remind you, even having Heather Ann and with us and with everybody else around us, that the wisdom is always around you.
Wisdom is all around us if we are open to accepting and finding it.
I'm going to get that last plug one time. So peace and love from Winona
and Jade.
Bye-bye.